I'm so sick of it. Run up in your crib just for the sake of sticking it. Yeah, I'm ridiculous. I know this is Kanye's track, but I'm kissing this. Still laughing at these cats like I'm ticklish. Just something about that shit, I like flipping it. The world's back on my dick, I'm Mike Vick in it.
Something I always found interesting and funny about society today, especially in the Western worlds, is how women always had declare blanche to go off on a social media or a stage or in public and talk about how bad a guy was. And that's something I've always found funny, for the fact that, you know, they would always run off at the mouth about their significant other and boyfriend, and they used to badmouth them and stuff like that. And, you know, people used to, well, why don't you break up with them? Then they'd be like, they don't break up with them. And it's always been funny, me watching and listening to the stupidity that is a woman complaining about their significant other. Because typically, if a woman complains in my presence, I typically go, well, that sounds like a personal problem. Either break up with the person or stay miserable with the person. And it's like they get upset with me. It's like, well, don't come at me with some bull crap. If you're going to complain about somebody, you got two choices: either break up or shut up and be unhappy with the person. And that's typically how I treat it when women do that, because I look at it like this: if you're going to talk negatively about your man, you should probably break up with that man. That's generally how I feel about it. And if you're still with that person, obviously it's not that bad. And that's typically how I feel about it when I hear women complain about their significant others, and it's always been my stance on it. Like, you know, you'll get the women that will make up excuse. Well, no, we've been together this long. We got children, this, and the other. Oh. Now you want to find reasons to stay now. You were talking about reasons to leave like several minutes ago. Now all of a sudden you found like 17 reasons to stay all of a sudden out of nowhere after you done, like, you know, talk shit on the person, talk down on the person, talk bad about the person, shout all over the person's name, you know, disrespected the person. Now all of a sudden now you can find 17 reasons to stay with the person. And that's something I've always found interesting when it comes to women. The funny thing about society today is now it's not just women who are talking about their past relationship experiences. Before, when women would do this, men were perfectly quiet and fine with just keeping it to themselves. Now in today's society, men are actually talking about it and opening up and talking about it online, which is actually pretty funny. You know, it's perfectly fine when women bash men, but, you know, the minute men start bringing up women, it's a problem now, which I've always found funny. It's always been that dichotomy of the one-way street, basically. It's like, it's perfectly fine going one way, but it's not perfectly fine to go back up the other way. So it's like one of those things where it's perfectly fine for women to do it, but the minute a man starts putting women out there on Front Street, now there's obviously a problem, and now you're attacking women. It's like, so it's perfectly fine when you did it, but, you know, now that men are actually opening up and talking about this, now it's wrong. Now you're abusive. Now you're oppressive. Now you're this. Now they're that. And that's something I've always found interesting. When in fact, if you're going to take the same energy on the opposite side, in all technicality, you're actually abusive. You're being oppressive. You're doing all this stuff because you're saying nothing positive about the person that you're in a relationship with. And this is typically what women do when they get together. They always badmouth and bash their significant others like it's going out of style, like they're having like a one-upmanship on who gets the worst husband or who gets the worst boyfriend. And it's something I've always found interesting when it comes to women. The sad part about that is we as a society are perfectly okay with women doing this, degrading men and talking about men, but the sad part about that is the minute a man opens up about his last relationship, now he's hurt, now he's being abusive, now he's being oppressive, now he's all this stuff. Okay, so where does all this stuff coming from? The cold reality is we live in a society where women don't want their business out there, but they want to put their man's business out there. But the minute a man starts talking about a woman, and now it's a problem. The only reason why all women have a problem with it because they pretty much think collectively, despite the fact that they always say they're their own thing or their own person. They think collectively. The minute you start talking about one woman, now you as a man are talking about all women. Reason why is because all women act this way. Sadly, it's sad. It's so true, but it's sad. It's like, for all intents and purposes, most women act this way. And any woman who gets upset with you talking about a totally different woman is suffering from those same behaviors for all intents and purposes. This is typically the dichotomy that you're dealing with today. You've got a bunch of women who will react to men talking about one woman that has nothing to do with that woman, and she takes it to heart like it's her. And now all of a sudden it's a problem, and he hates women now, or he's talking bad about women, or he's talking bad about her when in fact she was not even the person on the table. This is pretty much this is pretty much, sorry about that. It's pretty much the dichotomy that we live in, where men can be in trouble for talking about their experiences with a woman, and now he's sitting in HR because apparently he was talking about that very woman that he happens to work with, or somebody they happen to overhear him talking about his relationship, now feels slighted because women. It's sad, but it's pretty much how it works. And I've always said, if a woman is upset by anything you say about a woman that you've been in a relationship with, then 9 times out of 10, that woman exhibits the same behaviors of the woman you're in a relationship with. Any woman that says not all women are like that pretty much is like that. Any woman who says something to the extent of, I do my own thing, doesn't do her own thing, she pretty much follows the hive. And the sad part about that is every man falls for this on a regular basis. That's what we refer to in the manosphere as chameleons. They typically act a certain way and pretend to be a certain way up until you get into a relationship with them, and now all of a sudden now they're not that way anymore. They're mysteriously the same as all these other women and are displaying the same behaviors and characteristics and traits of other women. It's just psychology. Pretend like you're not for a while, fake it till you make it, then change it and flip it to script, and now you're stuck with this person who faked like they were this unicorn or this magnificent person when in fact they're not this magnificent person. It's sad. It's very sad. And before anybody in my comment section says anything, no, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about men in general and the economy and how men are treated nowadays when they open their mouth to talk about past relationships that they were in. It's sad how we're treated. Now that men are having these conversations, now all of a sudden it's a problem. Now that men are opening up one at a time, each and every day, now it's a problem. Now it's a big problem. And now it's abusive and oppressive against women, when in fact, women have been doing this all their lives. And it's sad to watch this stuff happen. And it's so sad. And the funny thing, it kind of sort of harkens back to the one video where I talked about it's perfectly fine for a woman to talk shit on you to her friends, but it's not okay for you to talk about anything going on in your household to your friends or anybody else at the household. But it's perfectly fine for her to spill the beans and talk shit on you, even if it's not true, to her friends. It's almost like her gaggle of friends are trying to one-up each other on who gets the worst boyfriend or who can tell the worst story about their significant other. It's sad, but it's true. And this is the society we live in. Nobody wants to change it. It's like everybody wants to live a certain way. Everybody wants the status quo. And the problem now is men are upsetting the status quo because now they're actually talking about their problems, the problems in their relationships, the problems that they faced in their relationships, and all the problems that they were confronted with in their relationships, and now it's a problem now. It's all of a sudden a problem, and now men are being this, that, and the other, and they're mean, and they're bitter, and they're all this stuff, when in fact women have been doing this for so long. It's sad and ridiculous. Now that men are doing it, it's a problem. The sad part about that is there's no difference now. Basically, men are now playing women's game, and they're basically opening up and talking about what the hell is going on in behind closed doors in their relationships. It's sad. And that's the very problem, because women don't want their business out there on Front Street, but it's perfectly fine to put you out there on Front Street. Think about that, man. So anytime your significant other is with her friends, just know she's talking shit on you, about you, to her friends. So at the end of the day, she's disrespecting you to her friends at the end of the day. So I want you to remember this. All men remember this shit. Your significant other is disrespecting you to her friends. Your name is being dragged through the mud to her friends. Your name is mud to her friends. That's exactly how it works. That's exactly how women work. And the sad part about that, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it, and there's really no way around it. And there's nothing you can do about it besides, talk about the same damn thing. And if she feels some type of way about it, then say, oh, so it's perfectly fine for you to do it. I did the same thing you do with your friends, basically. So, yeah, that's typically how this is, and that's typically how this is going these days. So, put her on blast for basically doing it to you. Anytime she complains about you doing it, then be like, oh, so I can't have the same conversation with my friend that you have with your friends? Got it. And just walk away. Don't even finish it, just walk away. But yeah, that's all my time, guys. Be blessed.